What's up, everybody? It's Heat Override, and I'm ready to bring the pain for you and Dr. Rhoda this week. Oh, yeah. If you haven't been to the site yet, get there. Use code word doc, get a percentage off your subscription, and start winning today. We just had a free week. It's about up right now, so we had a ton of new subscribers. So thank you all for everybody that came and joined in. Hopefully you stayed. Pay for the month. Take advantage of the percentage off and win. We had a lot of green screens, a lot of green screen bets this weekend. It was a really nice betting weekend. My articles were hitting, Lou's articles were hitting, everybody's articles were hitting. So, as a joint effort, we have definitely put out the product that hopefully all of you made enough money to pay for that other month to get on board now and get to see us more. Because that 10:30 show on Sundays is where it's at. It is so much fun. Every once in a while, I make that sneak peek, but I do try to stay out of stuff because I do so much talking on my podcast. I mean, we don't need me talking anymore, dude. Well, I mean, if we do, if I'm winning all your money, yeah, let's get ready to bring the pain. Let's get cheap and dirty. Whoa, what was that linebacker doing? Azeez Al-Shaair. You were one of my write-ups last year and for the previous last time, man. But over the years, we've seen you get bad and dirty. We're talking about the Bears hit out of line. You slapping dudes surrounded by Bears. You just slapping a dude, right? And then the Titans game, definitely a late hit out of bounds coming in at that speed. But that's what I want to talk about. Okay, so now he goes on his X and or Instagram, whatever it may be, and he wants to be the villain. He wants to be the dude. You could be the villain. That's fine. We haven't had a James Harrison in a long time. We need another Joey Porter, right? Oh, we do have one. It's Joey Porter Jr. Yeah, he was making his presence known this weekend, right? When Pittsburgh was rolling. But anyway, yeah, this is about the hit on Trevor Lawrence. So of course, Trevor's on the IR, and Azeez has been suspended for 3 games. It's being upheld. That's what ticked him off. A lot of people think it's a much, but the league is trying to send they're trying to send a notice to everybody. They're putting everybody on check, saying, hey, you got to stop. You got to train your guys a little better. However, I have a rebuttal for that in the middle. So at the end, of course, you're going to get my Macho pick of the week. Oh, yeah. Last week, another fire week. But this week, we're going to definitely get into it. It's a tricky one, but you'll see when we get there. But you look, you can go at it always as when I was in high school, I was being trained to hit with my head. We've heard this 1,000 times. We are trying to tackle better. We're trying to tackle. The problem is some of these dudes are powerful, like Derrick Henry, and you can't just always tackle them. Heck, man, I will tell you, I'll tell you what's going on right now. David Njoku is literally out there just playing with these boys. He's trying to hurt them. And so while you have offensive players like that, you have quarterbacks running. And now it's come out. Was this slide a little too late? How late is the slide? Should we teach the offensive players like Tua Tagovailoa what happened to him? Should we be examining this more? Tom Brady feels that there should be 2 flags on the play, the offense, or the offense should be flagged when a quarterback does not slide early enough. Now, I see the thinking of that because if the quarterback can give himself up, he's got to give himself up. It's at the point where the slides. These guys are going at 100% mile. So I do want to get a little learning. I want to teach a lot of you about what's going on in this and what goes in the game because a lot of people who don't play the game have a lot of opinions about what happens in the game, right? But unless you're in the game and you've played the game and you're actually in maybe a combat sport, you could say football is like a combat sport. You're pitting a foe against a foe. So when you're fighting like that, whether it be running the ball, be an MMA fighting on mat work, or like me, a point fighter, or a basketball, there's not so much like physical contact in basketball or baseball, but within football, within hockey, sometimes in soccer, they're always just rubbing up on each other, man. They're chippy as shit. And they got that hockey stick and they like to jab people real quick. If you know what I'm saying? And at the same time, so let's get into this. Tom Brady hit on it. He goes, we need to teach these quarterbacks to slide faster and definitely not head first because they are most likely the highest paid player on that team. So that means you are the most valuable player, whether you're Will Levis or Patrick Mahomes. To that franchise, they're looking at you as their next step into the future. That quarterback that could win that franchise a Super Bowl. But you're not going to get that if you get hurt all the time. So we're seeing Kyler Murray coming out of that. Of course, outside of the concussions, he had a devastating knee injury. And so we keep going on with these players and these and people that are getting hurt and all that. And what I'm trying to get at is when you're in the game. So I'll take this out. So I think that this should be penalized on the offense. I think that if we're going to go that far and we're not going to allow something that was like, I saw it was written in an article that said would have made the highlight reel on ESPN in their jacked up section. Remember that section? You can't do that anymore. Now they try not to do that. So they're trying to slow the game down, but the people are getting faster, bigger, and stronger. So how do you do that? Well, you just have to play within your parameters. And here's an example. As a point fighter, I get in the ring, and at any point, I could be knocked out. I could have my leg broke. I could have a rib broke, my nose broke, my eye socket broke, my jaw broke. I could have a lot of things happen to me. But like football players, training and practice allows us to harden our bodies and be ready to take blows like that so that we're in the best defensive position possible so things like that does not happen. As a point fighter, I've been dominating my division for over 2 years now. And it took time for me to figure out the mat work, A to B, what to use, what not to use. What do they look for? What are these? So every tournament is different. And in my last tournament, I actually had practically a learning moment because I once again got yelled at a tournament where the tournament was completely quiet by my sensei because I needed to be put in check while he was also making a point to the judges. The judges were not recognizing one of my techniques because of it being more of a traditional karate tournament. And for that, that kind of was different for me. So when I was watching that, you're wondering where are you going with this? Because now you're talking about fighting, point fighting, sport karate versus the NFL. Now, if you go back and you watch this play in motion, he does, Azeez that is, does bring his forearm up and it hits Lawrence in the head. However, right before that, if you're watching this and these guys are running at full speed, there's a crouching moment where Lawrence is still kind of up. And then there's that moment where Azeez is kind of looking at him. You have to go look. You have to find some of the camera angles I find. This was the one that was from behind Trevor Lawrence. And you can see that the minute Lawrence kind of goes down and Azeez adjusts and he kind of puts his arm out and it hits him in the head. Now, I don't think you're a dirty player, Azeez Al-Shaair, right? I don't. And I don't think you're a villain. You may be being posterized a little more now, and you might have the refs looking at your tackles a little more, but now you have 3 weeks to go back over that. Why this goes to point fighting is because I watch my fights a lot, and I critique my fights a lot, and I show my fights to people that are close to me. I try not to get my fights out because I don't want, my opponents to get like an edge, even though I know people do record fights. But so what happened was I used the same punch in two different fights. In my first fight, there was definitely a problem with my technique. So after I defeated this opponent, I beat him. After the argument, after everybody got in the tiff and went their ways, I ended up finishing the fight easily. Now, the guy wasn't going to beat me, that's for sure. But at the same time, he just stood there. He didn't put himself in a defensive position. He literally was standing. If you watch this video, I am hopping like a madman, and this dude is standing still. So it's natural. I'm not going to throw a kick at a guy standing still because he's standing still. He's going to block it, right? So I can throw a double kick now. I can throw that. But again, this was only a 5-point tournament, so there's no reason to get it. It's only A to B. Get the points as fast as possible. So I went in there to dominate as fast as possible and to run through my opponents. So I blitzed the shit out of them. And that's what they had a problem with. However, after knocking this guy back probably 10 times in this match, and after everything was done, I watched the video. He one time when I decided to go off angle on him and I moved, he one time decided to blitz me, right? And this is when I actually did a move for the people that can actually see visually. So he jumped at me, he's jumping at me. He's got his hands out. I take my left arm, I push his hands down, opening his face, and I punched him in his face. Now, we are being advanced. It is supposed to be light head contact. In a black belt fight, that's going to be a full punch practical. So that's what I'm preparing myself for one day, to be in the black belt division, to fight people, to go against Kumite, against people that have been running that division or in that division for multiple years. So it's going to be a big step for me to fight the best of the best in my area and in this nation. A lot of people come from different parts of the United States to fight in a lot of these tournaments, and they come on teams. And I fought a guy on a team in Niagara Falls last time, and I beat him too. And he stood 6'4". I'm not that big. It's about skill, but it's about being able to take those blows. So I witnessed this punch, right? The next fight, 2 punches in, the next opponent, my other opponent, does the same thing, except he jumps in the air, he comes down, I take his arms, and I pop him, and I nearly knock him out. I did get a penalty point against me, so that means he got the point. I lose a point. And so I still won. I think I won 5-1. So outside of that, because after that, I kind of just didn't know where he was at in his head because I hit him really, really hard. And so I kind of avoided his head. I scored on a side kick. And then when he came trying to jump at me again, trying to figure me out, because he's a competitor, he wants to beat me. He told me I'm trying to figure that out, and he's trying to. So when he did that, I just dispatched him. I did a couple run-bys, tapped him on the head. They gave me the points because they know if I go at him hard like I went with the other guy, I could sustain this person, this gentleman, this I guess acquaintance, karate family of mine, of everybody's, could be hurt. I'm not trying to hurt my opponent, right? So I am Azeez Al-Shaair in this. I am the one who could be the villain. I am the one who is fighting and fighting hard because, as my sensei said out loud in that tournament with everybody listening, they do not fight at our speed or our pace. And that right there lets you know that sometimes when you're in the game, now I would not have noticed these punches. One punch, the same punch used in 2 separate matches, scored me 1 point each, with one guy taking the hit and the other guy, because he was up higher and coming down. There's a picture of it. You can go check that out, right? That shows how high he was, over a foot off of the air coming down onto my fist. And that is how hits like Trevor Lawrence's can happen. In the split second, you only have a second to react. And so my defense was to swat his arms down and to punch the only thing open, because I pushed his arms at his body, and that was to hit his head. This is the same thing that happens to football players and NHL players when they go in for the hits. Anytime you're going in for a hit, you're expecting to get hit yourself as well. And so the quarterback, and what Tom Brady was getting at in talking about, was that Trevor Lawrence and the offensive coordinators, teams, etc., everybody in charge, need to start training. This has to become a training regimen, because just like me and just like all the opponents, and just like if you guys were like, dang, what is this point fighting? I mean, you can go check my videos, or you can come check me out. I'll be around, but at the same time, you can see it's all about the training. Got to put yourself in the best defensive position at all times, and do that. And both of those opponents did not, by jumping in the air at me and trying practically what I do, but not being able to do it as fast as me, which therefore put them in a compromised position. And that is why Trevor Lawrence found himself in a compromised position. And Azeez was already committed, as I was, to the hit. All right. I know y'all been waiting for.
Oh, yeah, it's the Macho pick of the week. I was hot, hot, hot all year long. Because when you're the champion, king macho man, oh, yeah, you never miss a beat. Yeah.
All right, Macho, calm on down. Macho pick of the week is none other than Kyren Williams. I went over this. I went back and forth. I was between Tony Pollard, and I was like, man, I can't do that. I can't. I already featured him twice, and both times he got hurt. So I'm feeling like if I put him on the Macho pick of the week and he gets hurt, even though he went over when he got hurt on his bet that week, right? And he helped our DFS teams just a tad. At the same time, I need you for a full game. So, buddy, I'm not mentioning you, but you might make the ultra contrarian lineup. So you're going to have to stay tuned for that show next. All right. Kyren Williams, there's not many numbers out. DraftKings actually only had a rushing total out, the alt and then the regular rushing total. And of course, both sites have the touchdown. So DraftKings is rolling a negative 175 for Kyren Williams touchdown, and FanDuel's rolling a 135. Also, on DraftKings, they were only giving out rushing totals, and the rushing total I was looking at was the plus 60 alt yards rushing, which gives you a negative 195. I looked at the 70. The 70 gives you a negative 125, but at this point, I want the yards. I want all rushing and receiving yards, because right there I'm gonna be around 80 or 90. That's where I can go 80. And if I can get that 80 rushing and receiving for a negative 135, or it should be about a 135, I would say, because then we're releasing things, we're getting that. So it should be around 135. That combined with the touchdown would be a lot better. Anyway, for here, the parlay is going to give you that 195 and that negative 175 for a parlay of a plus 112 on DraftKings. FanDuel, of course, there was no anything. There wasn't even a rushing column or a receiving column. It was passing, because they know that Rams and Bills game might explode. Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm close to Buffalo. I drive through Buffalo when I go to Niagara Falls. Yeah. That's where I fought that big dude. Yeah. Haha. So that's going to be your Macho pick of the week. Also, 7,300 on DraftKings and 8,400 on FanDuel. Have a great day, everybody. And always remember to bring the pain. May the points be with you. Yeah.